MMA fans, YouTubers, everybody who's going to come and have a great week with me on Saturday's UFC fight card for Stephen Thompson and Geoff Neal, who's taking over the main event because Khamzat and Leon Edwards had to get canceled or rescheduled due to COVID complications that came up. I'm super duper. I don't know if you guys remember this, but I had mentioned it to you even in the previous videos and like 2-3 weeks ago. I've been waiting for this event more than any other event in the entire year, and it's not a coincidence that it's kind of coming at the end of the year. It's one of the last events we're gonna get for the year. They saved the best for last. Man, oh man, did I see some opportunities on this card that we're probably never gonna see again. Where they're so amazing as far as where the odd makers have messed up so badly this time that, look, we don't have to go and get greedy and try to take off or take on the entire full card. Less is more. That's the theme of this week's card coming up on Saturday. Less is more. If we just focus on the fights that we know exactly who is going to win and how they're going to win. For example, the guys who we've seen time after time, they've been active. They haven't came off crazy losses and injuries. They haven't been inactive. They're not at the end of their careers. These are just guys in their prime, been active, are going to do what they've been doing, how they've been doing it, and we can predict it very well. So this is the types of fights that I found. I'm going to pinpoint them. I'm going to explain to you the same way I told you how Rafael Fizil, who opened up as an underdog against the guy I told you was a bit overrated, and people, because of name value, because of just his reputation, his beginning of his career, a lot of reasons he wasn't going to live up to his reputation, and he was going to go out there and be too patient and try to wait and against a match like opponent like that, and that type of a matchup style opponent was going to be his worst nightmare. Just like as I said Aldo did to him for making that mistake with Aldo, that guy Rafael Fizil did the same thing Aldo did, as I predicted in the video. If you look back, he put him away the same way Aldo did in around the same time. So we were happy we cashed in on that as somebody who opened up as an underdog. We were capable of seeing that. These are the types of, or the Holland fight where I compared it to the prediction for Strickland and Allen. Strickland was an underdog and even became a bigger underdog closer to fight night, and everybody predicted Allen to win on that, including my own followers were arguing with me. They hardly ever do that. They said Allen, I picked him wrong. He was supposed to win. He was undefeated in the UFC at the time. He was killing guys like, Allen, he had a win over Kevin Holland, who just won yesterday against Jacare Souza, who I predicted to do the same thing Strickland did to Allen. I said when Allen closes the distance, it was even in my comments when I was arguing with him before the fights, when he tries to close the distance, the footwork, the heart that Strickland possesses and has, the power, the length, the reach, the crisp boxing, the jab, he's going to keep him at bay, keep him at a distance, and punish him. That was the key. Punish him every time he tries to take him down and close the distance. And if he does get successful, like when Allen pulled guard and said, come into my guard, Strickland was like, more than happy, I'm a black belt too. Punished him on the ground. It made Allen want to get back up on his feet. As I predicted, he'd put him away after a few times of punishing him. He wasn't going to be able to stick around, and he put him away. We got underdog money there. And the same thing we did with Holland. Holland was an underdog. Came in with more money coming in towards Jack Ray, became a bigger underdog, and I told you guys now is the time to hammer it down. I made you guys wait until the money kept coming in. We hammered it down. He did exactly what I said. I said, even in the companion, I was like, oh man, he was having success. I said, but it's going to come back just like I predicted for Junior Dos Santos. I said, look, this stuff that's giving him success is going to be the same thing that's going to happen to him like in the Rosenstruck fight, where he was getting the better exchanges, made him fall in love with his hands and get confident just so that he could pay for it, because he keeps forgetting. And I said this over and over before the fight started in all my videos. He's the only one, he's the last one to find out and come to terms with the fact that he's not as durable. His chin's degrading, and he's becoming he's out of his prime now. He's becoming less and less capable of withstanding these types of barrages and punishment. Against a guy who is as methodical, crisp, accurate, and strong as Cyril Gain, I told you unquestionable that he was going to put him away. It was going to be an early night, finished. During the even companion, hopefully some of you guys capitalized on that and took me for my word on it. But now this fight this week is all of those types of fights where I could just simulate it in my head, tell you what's going to happen. Let's start off with, for example, one of my favorites that I'm looking into, another guy who's like, he's in the 5-0 club. This guy's been undefeated since the pandemic stages. He's opened up as an underdog. He puts his opponents away in devastating fashion. He's got an impressive record of 13-2, only 2 losses in his career. But if you look at 7-fight win streak, and his only loss was against the guy who we just talked about, Kevin Holland. So if it wasn't for a killer in his own right, and that was way back in 2017. So this guy's been undefeated for the last 4 years. He's gone 7-fight win streak. He's beat guys like Belal Muhammad, Mike Pero, Nico Price, the best of the division, some of the most dangerous guys. Nico Price had a win over Donald Cerrone. If it wasn't for the bad judging and the referee taking points away, he beat Donald Cerrone like we predicted him to. Stephen Thompson is a perfect example of what we were talking about. Somebody who's kind of towards at the end of his career, but the name value, the recognition, the following, he's going to be the favorite for that reason alone. And plus, he's got a good skill set, but he's more of a karate point style fighter. He can win in the decision cards, but he's not going to win as far as the most. And right now, with judging how it works and the UFC trying to promote their more exciting fighters, they'll get in a close fight. They'll give, just the same reason he lost to Woodley, Stephen Thompson, in a close fight, they'll give Geoff Neal the decision and the nod if it was the decision. But I don't think it'll happen. The same way Jorge, how many people was there? Sergio Pettis, if I'm not mistaken, I have to check. Sergio Pettis, Sergio Pettis beat him. Darren Till, these are guys that have similar attributes as Geoff Neal. The most recent losses that he's had, the only win he had was against the guy who fought his battle. Vicente Luque is exactly the same type of a fighter in a sense of styling and trying to do points. He's a point fighter in a way. So he's got other threats as well. Don't get me wrong, Vicente Luque. I do like him in a sense of, other areas he's more he's a dog in a fight sometimes. I like that when he brings it. That's the Brazilian inside of him. Hey, name girl, how do we say Vicente Luque?
Vicente Luque.
Huh?
Vicente Luque.
Vicente. The T-E is not T. So they say che. So you don't want to be a casual. You don't want to be a casual, you got to say this right. Huh? How do you do it?
Actually, like here in Portugal, they do say Vicente. It's like
but the correct way.
Where I come from.
The Brazilians, how would they say his name?
In Brazil, like the part of Brazil I come from.
Yes.
We say Vicente.
Vicente. Luke. Luke. Huh? Luke, like Luke, I am your father. Like Star Wars Luke, okay? Vicente Luque had a loss to him. That was the reason. The recency bias, because he's coming off of a win against another point fighter. And anybody who tries to outpoint Stephen Thompson, good luck with that, guys. That's like trying to do a slam dunk contest with Michael Jordan back in the 90s. Good luck, buddy. All right, the guy was flying from the free throw line, and you're going to try to out-dunk him? Good luck, buddy. All right, so he's the Michael Jordan of point fighting, okay? This guy has like a 100 record with 1 loss in kickboxing, and that's what it was all about. So he's a very credentialed kickboxer, karate fighter type of and Vicente Luque tried to beat him in his own game. It didn't work out. It turned into a decision loss. But he's not a threat anymore. He's not the old Stephen Thompson. So the main event, he's opening up because of the reason he's even still has main events, and he's besides the Khamzat card or fight falling out, is because of his name value, his following, his reputation, his legacy, future Hall of Famer, which is all the same reasons why he's the favorite here. Geoff Neal is the 5-0 club member like Kevin Holland. He's going to be the same reasons why Kevin Holland I picked to win as an underdog. You could just translate it into this fight. Now let's move on. I'll get into it because remember, we do more segments throughout the week. So hit the likes, hit the reminders, the notifications, so I can give you more and more depth breakdowns into whys and hows. So you can also capitalize on the props for the fights like we always do. But let's keep moving now. Let me give you some more predictions, some more picks, so you can get ahead of the line movement, because I give you my word, Geoff Neal will be the favorite when fight night comes. Like how I gave you a -300 for Bellator, who turned into a -1,000. So if you would have won $100 for your 100, you only won $10, which is exactly what I said. If you had listened to the video, I said if you wait, your 100 will turn into $10 profit only. That's what happened. So I'm predicting the line movement as well as how much more can you guys benefit from these videos. I'm not just giving you the picks, the who's, the hows, the whens, the whys. I'm giving you the advice about how to do it and when to do it as well. Like some people I tell you guys to rush in and bet it. The other people I tell you don't rush and bet it, like the Holland, who started to continue to be a bigger value as closer to the fight night. Perks of the Patreon, you guys trust me, your $10 membership will pay itself off with just one tip, not including the fact I give you 30 of these a day. I'm already giving my patrons tips from cards that are 5 weeks away, 10 months away, 3 years away. So it's beneficial and you're getting more than just one sport. All right, guys. Another fight that I noticed, and I'm going to tell you guys, this is funny to me, man. It's the opener. Carlton minus is a guy that if Verna Jaroba, the Mackenzie Derns, Ronda Martin, the women fighters, I swear I would put my money on them to beat Carlton minus. Carlton minus is one of my favorite fades of all time. I even picked against him when he opened up his last fight. He was opening, and even at the end of the week when he started the fight, he was still a big favorite against a guy who's usually most people's fades. I made so much money on the underdog against Carlton minus that day, and he finished him just exactly how I expected him to finish the fight, and outclassed him the entire fight until he got a unanimous decision, almost put him away even early on. But Matthew Semmelsberger was a guy who came in on his debut fight, never fought in the UFC before. He's got a terrible record. It was 6-2 only, 6 wins, 2 losses. He was in an organization nobody has ever heard of, Art of War or something like that, and he was a fade for most people. I picked him as an underdog, and he did exactly what I expected him to do, dominated, controlled, almost put him away, and that was against a fade. Now they're lining Carlton minus. They're putting him up, lining him up against a Rick Glenn. Rick Glenn is a guy who holds a win over Gavin Tucker, who just beat Billy Quarantillo yesterday. This guy's got a win over him. This guy's durability, his heart alone. If he just can throw some punches and be who he's been in his entire career, this is a real big guy for the division, by the way. He's real tall. He trains with some real good people. He's Uriah Faber and people like that. So he could Cody Garbrandt. But other than that, he's got a way better record. He's got a way better experience. His only losses are against really good high-level athletes, guys who we make a lot of money from. If you remember, we made some money off of Drury Miles, and he's got a loss against him, Kevin Aguilar's, people like that. So he does really well, even in high-level fights. He gives a good account of himself. He's the kind of guy you got to hit him with a truck. You got to reverse the truck over 5 times in order to put him away. He's so strong. He's got a lot of heart, and they're putting him against a minus. And I believe that the odds are not even that far apart. They're pretty decent. There's a lot of value because it's still early. So my fate of the week, Carlton minus, I'm going to be able to make a lot of money off of him again. And this time it'll unfortunately have to be as an underdog. He'll be opening up at, but it's okay because there's still value there. So I would have loved to see him as a favorite again. That would have been even better, but it's okay. We're not greedy. We're going to be on the side of his opponent. His nickname is the Gladiator for a reason, guys. I got my money on Rick Glenn, even parlayable. And Marlon Moraes is on this card. If it wasn't for recency bias, and let me tell you another example of very bad refereeing. Freaking guy, dude. It was just opening. It was just like a main event type of a fight. It was important. It was going to tell you who's going to be the next contender for the belt. Opening, who's going to be the next guy in line for the belt, possibly. And could have even jumped the line for over Aljamain Sterling. I think that's what they were trying to kind of set him up to do. They wanted him to take the spot and fight against Peter Yan. But he couldn't do it because the referee, even while he was doing like a ninja, not only was he defending himself, which is a reason why a referee should not stop a fight when you see the fighter is coherent and he's sophisticatedly capable of defending himself. He did a ninja style type of defensive thing. He did a backward roll, lifted his leg all the way up in the air in his hand to block the referee before his opponent Sandhagen can even put another hand on him, before he can strike. As he was just approaching the opponent Moraes, while he was doing some ninja stuff to defend himself after getting hurt, he stopped the fight. This is a huge main event fight that's got a lot of meaning behind it. And the guy's doing roll. He's not like with his eyes rolled in the back of his head and felt he didn't get put to sleep. He's not tapping out. You stopped the fight? What? Seconds into the first round? I don't understand it. Referees got to be, as just like judges, held accountable for what they're doing. They're messing up a lot of people's careers, their financial nights. Like, if it wasn't for just the stupid refereeing and the stupid judges, I would have 3 more wins yesterday. Figueiredo, even with a point taking off for no warning. They didn't even give the... I've seen fights where they've given 3 warnings and not take points off. The guy didn't even get 1 warning for a low blow, and they've taken a point off the champion in the main event, one of the most important fights of the year. They took a point off, and that cost him his fight. It became a draw, tie. We didn't cash in, and it was one of the biggest plays of the night. I told you guys you can go all in. You couldn't even. It's like having 21 against the dealer with blackjack, and he gets 21 with you. I mean, how? It's the worst thing in the world, but it's not merit. It's like when he cheats and get 21. That's how it happened. I feel like he got cheated because even a judge gave Moraes. I love the guy. I always pick for him. Don't give me Brandon Moreno. He did not win the last round. It wasn't even close, and they gave him the round. So that gave with the point taken away. And that together gave it even with that, Figueiredo didn't even lose. That's how much deserving he was of the win. And I told you, when you're a champion, you got to be defeated by a lot. You can't just be by a little bit. So Moreno should have done a lot more to even get a win. And he did a lot. He tried his best. I love the heart he showed, displayed the great heart that I knew the Mexican fighting warrior in him had. And I told you guys the best of the Mexican and the best of the Brazilian pride fighting would have been an awesome battle in a showdown, but Figueiredo deserved the win there. Everybody can argue it as well. Nobody was happy with it, but it's for money. It's all about money. If they did a draw, and because they can't take it, then it wouldn't benefit them to see him lose, because then nobody's going to be happy about seeing a guy who should have won lose, and they won't respect Moreno as a champion anymore, so it wouldn't work. So the best thing they could do is draw so they can make money off of a rematch part 2, but they could have done it. Even everybody would have still wanted to watch it if they gave the rightful winner the win. It would have been just as good of a rematch. They don't have to say that it was a draw for them to do a rematch. Come on, man. It's just ruining the sport. I hate it, but what are we going to do? And as long as we just keep betting smart, guys, don't be discouraged. Some people, the same guy who on the week that we got 1 wrong only said that somehow he still lost money that week, is a guy who was complaining. I had to even block and boot him off my Patreon club. I don't want to deal with people that I'm doing him a favor. He may not realize it right now, but if you're a guy who, after only 1 wrong a week, where we got only 1 fight wrong, and it was the fight that I told you even, I circle and color coordinate fights in accordance to high risk, low risk, adversities, parlayable, not parlayable. I even said that this was the only fight that you shouldn't parlay. It's going to be close. It could go this way, it could go that way. And that was the fight that he says turned his night from being a winning night to a losing night. I did him a favor. I took him out of the club. Go save your money. Go put it somewhere else. I don't even want the money from him. So I blocked him. I removed him. Just so you guys know the type of a person. I don't care if I can't help you, if you're unhelpable, I don't want to be taking advantage of you in any way. So I hope you didn't take, you know who you are. With all due respect, I had to do that for you. All right, anyways, back to the card. The Gladiator, Rick Glenn, Marlon Moraes, due to recency bias because of that loss, that he shouldn't have lost like that. Not to say that he wouldn't lose the fight, could have gone whatever way. I think maybe he probably would have lost still, because Sanhagen's a future champ, Mitchell. This guy's an awesome fighter. He's all around. That's a different story for another day. We'll talk about when his next fight comes in. But the point is, he shouldn't have lost like that. And for the way he lost it, and it looks on paper as a first round knockout and whatever, it makes his stocks go down, and it makes his value go up for us when we're betting on him. And he's fighting against a guy who's very inactive. He fights like once a year. He's got a lot of injuries. He's prone to injuries. He's always been a type that's more like top 10 material, top 15, not really top 3, top 5. And because of what's going on with Moraes, he's only fought and lost against the best of the best some people consider to be a Hall of Famer, future GOAT of the division, Henry Cejudo, he was having a lot of success against until he got it gassed out because he's got one of those physiques that's very difficult to keep up a high pace. And against a wrestling style opponent like Cejudo, who's going to bring the cardio out of you that you're going to have to need for later rounds, he forced them to have to grapple and wrestle, which takes the most energy out of a fighter inside of a fight. You can gas you out in 1 round more than striking could in 10 rounds. So he forced the cardio out of it. Was a good game plan, fighting the way he fought against Moraes. As he was losing the fight, then he eventually became able to win the fight suddenly due to the cardio issues that he's always had because of his very, very good physique that holds like a Yoel Romero in a sense where he's got to only explode in moments. He can't keep that explosive style for all the entire full rounds. So he's got to pick and choose his moments. That's the same, but Moraes doesn't like to do that. He likes to be always forward pressure, so he usually gets a lot of early finishes because he knows he needs to. But he's very skilled. He's top 3 future champion material, and he's gotten a real big step down in class. He should be able to, this is a big mismatch, especially a guy who's injured and he's only fighting when he needs to fight for a paycheck. He does it like once a year because he couldn't pay his bills without it. So he's only fighting because he needs to. Even if he wasn't just fighting for those reasons, coming off of injuries, it's a mismatch in level of skill sets and the way the matchup style, just like I told you guys for Rafael, is going to play into his hands. It's perfect. It's going to be perfect for Moraes because this is a guy who's not going to be trying to wrestle with him, take him down, and submit him. It's going to be a guy who will fight in his world. In the stance, the way Moraes is back, just perfect style matchup. Like I said, future segments we'll dissect. We'll get into it more further and deeper. I'll give you the who's, how's, when's, and why's. But take my word on it, and he's lined at almost a pick'em, almost underdog money for Moraes because it's so early in the week. So get ahead of the movement. He'll be a huge favorite closer to fight night when the casuals start to become educated by guys like me who are going to start posting videos after watching my video. Because I am always the first to put these videos out, just so you know. You could verify that yourselves. Another very big similar situation, recency bias. Khaos Williams has been getting impressive knockouts. If you look at his older fights before his first round knockout artists are very deceiving. Like we've been fooled by a lot of them. The Parisians, the Daniel Pinedas, the early first round finishing type of guys that show us that they're not the same after the first round are very dangerous because they come in as favorites. Perfect example, Khaos Williams. Khaos Williams, he's been showing very impressive power in his hands, but that's against opponents who kind of play right into his threat. Michel Pereira is a different animal. This is a huge step up. This is gigantic. If it wasn't for the following, the advanced level of following that this guy's gone from nobody, from rags to riches to nobody to somebody overnight, they would never put a step up into competition like this. Michel Pereira is a guy who sometimes fights at the level of his opponents, but when you give him a threat as somebody who's an actual game opponent, you're going to see the difference in skill sets. This guy's a legit black belt. He's got some freakish, disgustingly sick cardio, he's an athlete. Like he's the type that will do like ninja moves and do it all 3 rounds without even getting tired. He's like a Jiri type of a fighter who's very unpredictable, unorthodox, and dangerous and powerful with the durability and just like a John Jones with the heart and everything. Like he's a very all-around excellent fighter. He's the complete fighter. And right now he's getting a lot of attention. He knows a win like this over a guy he can steal the thunder from. It's going to be important to him. So the lines are very close. I love the value that I'm getting him at. Due to also things like what happened with him in his recent fights against Dhiego Sanchez, he beat him all 3 rounds, 10-8 rounds, dominated. He didn't even get one punch against the former future Hall of Famer legend Dhiego Sanchez. Couldn't even get a freaking single blow. He couldn't get a strike against him, but he lost the fight because of a disqualification, a weird thing like what happened in the other. So that's on paper making him look like he shouldn't be valued as much. So we got to take advantage of these opportunities. I'm going to show you how to do it. My bet slips, I'm going to be more transparent with them to the patrons. I'm going to tell you guys how much to put on these guys. You can translate it into how much you can afford. I'm going to show you, because I've been trying to do a video out. It just, time has been a problem for me, because now I'm finally able to go into doing this full time. You'll notice the difference in getting my bet slips and my tutorial videos, all the things that I've been meaning to give you guys. I just never had the chance to. With this transition finally done with now, I have actually an administrator who can help me do the things that were taking up 90% of my time. So I'm going back to now the studying the tapes, the full detailed analysis. So it translates me into being able to do the bet slips better as well, because also I'm gonna have to start focusing on trusting my instincts. When I seen the weigh-ins, the guys who I'd already bet on and made bet slips on, you know, I seen differences in the scales and face-offs that really worried me. But it was kind of like it was too late. And from now on, I'm only going to do the bet slips, the combinations on the guys who I'm for sure about, that I don't need to look at the scales. And then the other guys, I'll do them after the post weigh-in face-off, which is always going to be when I'm the most confident. So we'll capitalize on that. I won't have to worry about hedging off of like the Fergusons and stuff. So very smart improvements we're making. Excellent time to stay in the Patreon or join the Patreon. All right, guys, back to and I did wear the sweater just in honor of my originals. As you can see, I'm representing you guys. I want to be sure we only had to get rid of 1 or 2 people this weekend, and it was actually, even though it wasn't too bad, it was still our worst weekend in the history of our entire career. My own 5-year career of betting, I've never had this was the closest to breaking even I've ever got, or breaking even I went, because I was focusing more on other things as well. But the point is, I still got more right than wrong when you include like the draw that we know who really won, the Verna Janaroba, who out doubled her in 2 rounds out of the 3. That if it wasn't for, you know, sex sells and the value in Durden's name and the reputation, her, you know, the following and all that stuff, she would have. And I even seen it come. I told you guys in the companion that this is the fight that they would rob her in, and they robbed her. So it wasn't for things like that, we'd be only down 2 or 3 losses out of the entire card on my worst day. Not bad. That's usually people's best days, if that, not even. Most people don't even have that on their best days. So still, I'm not worried about it. We've had too many weeks. The week before that, 7 days before yesterday, our best week. We had won 40. Unless you're betting 40 times more than you did last week, you're still up 1,000,000 times more than you started. So don't worry. And that's the thing, that we're always going to have better weeks than worse weeks. So there's no way of ever at the end of the month, or especially the end of the year, of ever saying that you've lost more than you won. Impossible. It's just the accuracy is way too good for that to be possible. The betting system is getting so much more sound. It's impossible. All right, guys. So back on track. Cody Durden and Jimmy Flick, we've already broken that fight down. That's on this card. Go back to my older videos. There's a lot of value there, man. This card has probably the best value I've ever seen in an entire year. Oh, yes, Soraya Eubanks is on this card. Dhiego Lima. Oh, Belal Muhammad, one of my best new prospects. He's not new. He's kind of older. He's like, but I love Belal Muhammad in the sense that he's evolved his game. He's got a little bit of the old school stuff like that we used to see in like the Robbie Lawlers again when he was like in his best days against guys like that Canadian, what's his name, that he had a beautiful fight with, a war between Rory McDonald. Like he shows like that type of a heart, that type of a style and old school sense to him. But he's also got like the Neal Magnies and like the type of like new game, like the Kamzat's like styles as well. He's like the perfect hybrid fighter, you could say. And his nickname is Remember the Name for a reason, because this is a guy who is going to definitely one day be talked about as one of the best fighters. So he's underrated. This is a guy very much reminds me of like the Rafael Fizil. Everybody counted him out, said Marciano was going to win the fight because he opened up as a favorite, and a lot of people overrate him, and a lot of people underrated the guy who we picked to win, like how Jose Aldo beat Marciano, Moicano. I told you he would beat him as well, and he did. So we won money on a guy who opened up as an underdog. This is the same way I kind of see this guy. He's very underrated, undervalued. And Belal Muhammad fighting against Dhiego Lima, who's similar in a sense to Moicano. I think if it wasn't for the following, the Brazilian fans being such MMA crazy guys. Like MMA crazy fans, like in Brazil, they always like overhype their fighters because they love fighting. And so you'll see a lot of that happening. Help me out, girl. Dhiego, last name Lima. Dhiego, like Dhiego, whatever.
Diego Lima.
Say what? Say what?
Diego. Lima.
Dhiego. Diego Lima from Brazil. 15-7 record, 31 years old, 700. He was out of American Top Team. He's only got 4 knockouts, 4 submissions under his 16 wins, almost 15 wins, but less than half of them by finish. So he goes to the decision cards a lot. Against a guy like Belal Muhammad, you're not going to probably win in the decision cards. This guy's a decision machine. He's a non-stop cardio freak. He puts a lot of output. He's got victories like only Dhiego Lima's got victories against people who are like at the end of their careers. For example, Court McGee, who's at the end of his career, who lost even against what's his name, who's at the end of his career, at the very end. He's past his deadline. If you ask me, we made money on him as an underdog. Carlos Condit, we cashed in on as an underdog against Court McGee. Court McGee lost to Condit, who should have been expired by now or retired. I mean, Dhiego Lima's got wins over that guy, but as a split decision, almost. So one judge gave it to Court McGee, saying that he won. But so guys like that, the last fight was also a split decision. So his more recent 2 last wins were split decisions, very unimpressive. And he's fighting against the guy who's a little bit higher level, higher class, higher output. Just more potential, stronger, everything in every way you could say that he's the better fighter. So Belal Muhammad is a guy who I could even trust in a parlay. So I'll show you guys how to bet him as well in the Patreon. But that's another one of my picks, and we'll dissect the fights. Remember, I always do this. In the first segment, we just kind of give you the rundown to get ahead of the line movement. The next segments, I'll give you the rest of the picks as much as I can, because only due to the fact that this is December, Christmas month, I want to help pay it forward. But after that, January, it's only for the patrons. You guys will get just like a partial breakdown and picks. So that's I gave you a whole bunch of fights. Gillian Robertson's got a lot of value on this card. She's fighting against Taila Santos. Gillian Robertson's going to be a future champion one day, I would imagine. She's very good. She's on a tear right now. 99% of her wins by knockout, or I'm sorry, submission. She's very good ground and pound. She's improved. The reason why she's lined at where she is at almost an underdog, but like pick'em, so you'll get double your money, is because she's just recently transitioned into being the fighter, the complete fighter that she finally is. Before her transition, she was really bad at standing up. She was bad at the clinch. She was bad at grappling. She was bad at just decision making, and she's matured a lot, and that's why she's now worried more about and focused about just winning fights. She's got a better team. She's moved into a better camp, better trainers. It improved her game. She's just maturing. She was too young. Now she's developing her strengths. Her stand-up game has improved. And a girl with the type of level of submission threats that she possesses, her ground game and grappling and ground and pound, when she gets on top of you, you're done with. You're not the whole round is 10-8 rounds, or if you'll make it even out of that round, which is a very big if, because she could put fights away very, very, very quickly and impressively. She's won like tournaments in that type of a fight. Now that she's developed her stand-up as well, she's a big threat, and she should not be this little of a favorite. She might even be an underdog right now still. So Taila Santos is also somebody who's looked pretty decent. That's why another reason, recency bias. Besides her last fight, you wouldn't, and I don't trust people who only looked good in their last fight. Perfect example, Daniel Pineda, who also did have the weight. He did, if you looked at the success he was having with his leg kicks, I guess he didn't want to, he was too proud. That's why I told you guys, the personalities will translate into the ring, and you have to develop, if you can learn a fighter's personality, it'll help you determine if they're trustworthy to bet on, because he was too proud. Maybe he didn't want to look like a one-trick pony. The guy almost finished the fight with leg kicks alone. So why not just continue that? It keeps your defense up there, so you're not getting damage. And it's the easiest thing you could do in a fight. It's easier than anything else. and that's all you had to keep doing. The easiest method of winning was your best method of winning. Luckily for you, you had that advantage. A lot of people aren't good at doing kicks and cannot finish fights that way. You have that blessing of being able to do it, and you found success. You were killing. The guy was doing spins every time you kicked him. He was spinning around. What kind of a threat you think he would have been if he has to spin around? And he even fell to the ground, and his knees were buckling. And now you want to not only not do that, you want to engage with the more experienced veteran in a stand-up fight with your hands down, like as if you got like steel covering your face. I don't get it. Like, it's just such poor IQ. He looked so good. He was on the streak. Nice. Like, I can't expect these people to start playing and fighting stupid on some of the most important fights of their career. Finally, they get to the level of where they got to start to show that they deserve to be there, and that's when they give their worst performances against somebody who's capable of being. Just the matchup was the worst nightmare for that guy. And you let him come in and have his way with you for no reasons. All you had to do was continue doing what you were capable of doing, and he didn't want to look like a one-trick pony. He didn't want to look like he was too proud to admit that the other guy was getting the better of the exchanges. He wanted to look like he was not gonna lose that battle, and his ego, his pride, got him defeated in a fight that he almost won. He should have won. He was the favorite for a reason. All right, anyways, back on track. Oh yeah, and Tony, just to touch on Tony Ferguson, like, there's two things that happen in the fighters, okay? And from the way he was training, looking, talking, acting, everybody assumed, the odd makers assumed, the media, Dana White even said that. I thought that, you know, it was going to make him better after his last loss, like his last loss to Michael Johnson. After that, he went on the 12-fight win streak. He became the interim champion, talked about being the only guy who could beat Khabib, who's the greatest of all time in many's opinions. He was viewed as the only guy who could beat him, and besides his one loss to Gaethje, who's one of the best in the world, second to Khabib, we haven't seen him lose in a long time. So we expected to see, at least if nothing else, the same Tony that was doing that and viewed as that. But we've seen a Tony we've never seen ever before. Even Cormier kept repeating, have you ever seen this happen? Have you ever seen this to Tony? Have you ever seen that? Have you ever do? It was a very big surprise to everybody. So these are the things, like I've told you, I've said it in the video, if we're going to get fights wrong, it's going to be fights like that, where people don't show up like what we're used to seeing them at, or their opponents show up is a much different person, and that's just a part of the game. And if you're that type of where you cannot accept these things being possible, you should go just work somewhere and not invest money. There's nothing ever always going to be perfect in anything that you do that has to do with money. And investing is never going to be 99,000 or 100,000% safe. There's going to be downs and ups, but the good thing is there's always more ups than downs. The bad thing is if you're going to complain when you see more down than up, when you're seeing more wrong than right. That's when you have the merit, the right to complain, people. And that's why nobody else besides one or two guys did it, and I did them the favor. They didn't have to even do it themselves. I removed them I eliminated them from the equation. So no more, less people like that, the better it is. Positivity is important in your life. You don't want negative people around. They start to, it's contagious, and I don't even think it was for that. Remember, the same people that said after one wrong only, like the Hermanson fight or whatever, they had on our best week, they still said that they lost. I mean, I don't need this. I did him a favor, like I said, and there's other people similar to him as well. So I got to be selective about who. This is not about money, man. I do this for a passion. I enjoy it. These are my friends. I do companions. I lose money. I have a job that pays very well. I sacrifice my time to come here and do things for you guys. So I don't need to hear that type of crap from people that are ungrateful and don't appreciate what I'm doing. I don't want to see that guy make money with me. If he wants to make money, go to a different. I told him, go to a different channel. Go to a channel that has been coming to my channel saying thank you. I like your videos. Those guys who are coming to me saying good things, you can go to them. So maybe you could see it from their opinions why they even themselves, the guys who I posted about the Baby Yoda predictions, who's the best, one of the best out of 2,800 sites, he's like top 5%, comes to me asking me for my picks. I've even posted conversations between us where he's asked for the best of the best professional, and you're gonna think I'm gonna take a customer's crap about what I'm doing, if it's right or wrong. Sorry, buddy, but you're not. When you've proved yourself to be a professional and know what you're doing, I'll take your opinion for what it's worth. back on track. Sorry to have gone into that rant. So just for future references, that you guys know where we stand with that type of behavior. All right. So you got Rick Glenn. We've got Gillian Robertson. We've got Marlon Moraes, Michel Pereira, and Geoff Neal so far. We'll finish the rest of the picks on the next video. I'll give you guys some prop bets, some underdogs. Even though I think I did give you some underdogs, plenty of them. A lot of value. Don't place your bets yet. I'll give you some that you could do for single bets and whatever. Maybe some small parlays, but the big, nice, juicy, big, huge payouts. The confident, most guaranteed picks when I get to see how they match up together in size and confidence. All the important things I pick up on from face-offs that you, as a fighter trainer, that you have an advantage of picking up and seeing things that nobody else, unless they were actual fighters or trainers, even trainers wouldn't have it. Fighters only would be able to pick up on. I'm going to use that advantage and capitalize, because that gives me an insight that is invaluable. It's priceless. So we'll take advantage of that. But don't worry, if you're into Patreon, I'll explain to you guys the do's and the don'ts. Thank you guys for the time. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, and I hope to see you guys in the next video and on our live companion, so we can capitalize on prop bets and line movement and all the stuff that makes us extra money in the week. All right, guys.